All right. Hello, coaches. I'm so excited to chat with you all today about designing your first life coaching website, even if you feel like you are not creative or tech savvy. So my name is Krista Kathleen. I'm a life coach and business mentor for women who want to start and create online life coaching businesses so they can leave soul-sucking careers and create a life full of freedom and flexibility and make an income while creating an impact. And today I have a special guest here for you all, Kelly Preston. Say hello, Kelly.
Hi, guys.
And I have my son Lincoln here. He's on my boob right now, so you guys will be hearing little baby noises in the background. Like usual, I'm sure you're all used to that by now. So today I'm going to talk to you about designing your first website. I have a lot of pain points around this, and I know Kelly will talk about this as well. Kelly is a brand strategist and website designer. She's been doing this for 6 years now. She is fucking amazing at her job and is a wordsmith and just really good with aesthetics. And she is one of the coaches. So let me back up a little bit. The way that Kelly and I met was through a coach training program that we both went through. And we had a mutual friend who was raving about Kelly and how she helps coaches like transform their brand and their website. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need Kelly, because before that point, I had for years been I've been trying to design my own website, and I used Wix and I used WordPress and Kajabi, and I hadn't used Squarespace yet, but I just was like not happy with the way my brand looked. It was messy, it was unorganized. I was just lost and overwhelmed, and I was embarrassed by my website. And so I would never like show it to people, or I would never direct people to it, which is not good when you're an entrepreneur, right? And I just needed help. And so I remember I was traveling around the world at this time. I think I was in South America. I reached out to Kelly, and Kelly really helped. She just like heard and listened to me in a way that I felt no one else had. She understood what I was going through, and she helped me to completely transform my website. And I'm absolutely in love with it now, and I love showing it off. I can show it off even later today here, but so that's kind of my story. Kelly, I'd love for you to, talk about like, how did you get into this line of work?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, thanks for that intro. Basically, I started out, I was a health coach and I was an esthetician, and I had gone through several rebrands, I'd done the WordPress. I had done, actually my first site was built on QuickBooks that I actually built. It was hideous. and I had no tech background whatsoever. In fact, my friends used to joke that like they'd send me an email and like, good luck getting a reply, because I never checked email. I didn't like it. I was the last one to get a smartphone. So when I opened my brick and mortar aesthetic business, I didn't really think about the fact that I would also have to have a website. So I had my accounting software and I just put it up there. And I actually had a pretty good time designing it. And it was the descriptions of my facials that were what grew my business, because people would find me on Yelp and be like, that description of the facial was like, I was laughing. And it was like, well, I really wrote what I would describe to my friends what this actually is and feels like and who it's for. And I just wrote in my voice. And so that became like one of the first stepping stones to me, like having an inclination towards branding. And then that was just the writing part. And I didn't even think anything of it. And then as I had my son, I started to transfer over from being a brick and mortar to being an online health coach. So I had just paid for an $8,000 rebrand on a WordPress website. And I was thinking I was going to still be brick and mortar. No, I remember the day I hired her was the day I found out I was pregnant. And I didn't realize that I was going to want to switch to online only. And that didn't happen. And it took her like 8 months to design the site.
Wow.
And so by the time I got it back, I was just about to have him and I was going to go to online. And I was like, crap, I just paid all this money and this doesn't represent my brand anymore. And so I started to go in and fiddle with the back of WordPress. And I actually fell in love with the design process of like oh my God, because I have a penchant, like I've always been into interior design and decorating my spaces. Um, and this was like instant gratification, because if you could figure it out and not want to like kick your computer across the room, because trust me, there were several times I wanted to do that. It was not a smooth process by any stretch. But as soon as it like happened, there was so much like gratification. It was instant, and it was, I don't know, I felt super proud of myself to do the one thing that I never thought that I could do as far as the tech was concerned. So after I got that up, and it probably was less than pretty, but it felt good to me to have that done. I started to transition even more. My brand evolved again. And I was like, and then at that time I was working with a coach, and she's like, have you ever tried Squarespace? And I had, but I was like, oh, it's really hard. And I don't know, I was like not super impressed. And she's like, they've done a lot of updates. And this is like 7 years ago. I went in there and started to play, and it was the same time Canva had also come out. And she told me about Canva, and I started to play in there as well. And I built my first Squarespace website as basically as an online esthetician and an online health coach. And everybody who saw the site was like, who built your site? Nobody wanted to hire me for the services that I was actually selling. And I was like, well, actually I did. And they're like, well, would you build mine?
Oh, wow.
And I said no, because I had a like close to a 1-year-old, and I was trying to like have this other business. And finally I was like, why am I denying this? I really enjoy it. So that ended up being, my friend was the first, she was launching a book, and I did her website. That was my first paid client. And that was 6 years ago, and I've been doing it ever since.
Wow. What
Yeah.
an amazing story.
It's been really fun. So I guess that's all to say, I can totally relate with the frustration and
Mhm.
the overwhelm that all of it can cause. I mean, I get it beyond belief.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a huge pain point for entrepreneurs and coaches. And I think I told you I had that private client that she just hated her website so much that it like completely stalled her business. Like
Well,
it was a
I
huge
hear
creative
that
block for
so
her.
much, or people don't want to. And I think what ends up happening is when we really look at, because the truth is you can run a business without a website, no problem. But what
Right.
it ends
And
up
I did
being,
that. I did that
yeah.
for the first 6 months. I worked with paying coaching clients even before having a website.
And
So
you absolutely can. I think where it actually comes in, this is my biggest theory, is I don't think the websites are for the client. I think they're for you. They're actually for you to like have a place for it to be your altar, for your place to like sort through all of your ideas, for it to feel like a journal, in so much that like you have it all organized, and you're like, okay, so this is what I'm offering, this is what I'm about, this is what my aesthetic looks like. And it's kind of like when you have this home of all of this like organization, and you feel at home, it allows you to show up consistently on social media, and to also speak to your clients in a more authentic way that feels like you're not kind of piecing together everything. And so at the end of the day, if we can look at our websites, if we can take the pressure off that it needs to be this like big marketing machine, because it doesn't need to be. Like, all it is a place for you to have a solid foundation so you can continue to show up. And
right.
it gets to all be about you, the design, your words, your voice, instead of looking to outside sources. And I think as far as designer is concerned, you know, like one of the first things I have my clients do is like create Pinterest images. And I started to notice that they would go towards like color trends or color theory, and they would start to pull from that. I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, what do you like? Like,
Mm.
not what is popular right now, or what color is going to make your clients feel a certain way. Like, that feels really disconnected and for you. And it also puts in this like layer of complexity that doesn't need to be there. So like a lot of times I'll be like, well, send me the pin board of what you pinned for your dream house or your favorite outfit,
Mhm.
or just even stuff that you feel like is really pretty. And from there is where you can get your inspo, not from what colors are trending right now. Don't worry about the outside world, because at the end of the day, this is like inviting people over to your home. And so how would you decorate it? So I think that if we can look at design from that perspective, I think that's one of the bigger boulders that can be removed. Of it doesn't need to be, it's not this big mystery.
Right. Yeah, I remember that when I was taking your course, and you had me create a Pinterest board, and you were having me like look up pictures of rooms that I liked and outdoor spaces. And I was like, what does this have to do with designing a website? And what I found was that I was just, yeah, naturally attracted to certain like colors and patterns. And then I was like, oh, this is where my branding colors need to come from. And you're right, I was doing it backwards. I was like, oh, what should it look like? What's gonna like attract the most clients out there? And you know, again, it's getting in the should territory. And so once I let go of all that, I'm like, I'm just gonna like choose the colors that feel, you know, beautiful for me. That's when like things really started to move forward, and I was starting to have fun with designing my website, and instead of looking at it like this huge painful task.
Right. Or even like this, like it feels like outside of you, and like other people have the authority. And I think as soon as we hand that over, we lose our magnetism, which is our biggest money maker. Like that's the thing that makes us the most attractive, is when we're like, this is what I love. I'm so connected to it. This is bringing me so much joy. And that's where it comes in, because the truth is, like, you'll never know what your clients want. Like your clients could all like a different color, or like a different, like some of them may be more attracted to neutrals. I mean, it's never going to be like something that you can please all of them. It's about your magnetism. And so when you feel super connected to it, that's when it's like, I don't know, I think that's when brands soar.
Yeah, I agree. Something I appreciated that you did with me, Kelly, was, I mean, you were really hands-on with me for, you know, designing my first website because I was really overwhelmed. But during that process, you were really coaching and empowering me that I could do a lot of this on my own too. I felt like you were trying to help me to become independent, because I mean, you weren't going to be in my website forever, and a brand is constantly evolving and changing, right? You've talked about this, and I talk about this with my audience. Is like your brand does grow with you, and I've called myself a, you know, at least 10 different types of coaches. Not like I was a social media coach, I was a pregnancy coach, I was a sex coach. You know, we're always just like changing our minds. And so I like that you really challenged me and pulled out this inner creative side of me that I didn't know I had. And you know, told me that I was going to be the best person to write my copy or write the words on my website. And I'm just really grateful you did that for me, because now I feel so empowered and confident that I can update my website as needed, and make changes. And I don't need anyone to, you know, I don't have to constantly keep going to someone and say, can you do this? Can you do that? Which feels disempowering.
Right, right. I think sometimes, you know, when the great ideas come to us, like when your son takes a nap and you can like whip up a sales page, like that is, instead of having to wait to get on a designer schedule. And it's not to say that there's not a place for that, but I think that also, like, I know what it felt like to get that WordPress, the first WordPress website that I had built. It was actually done by a developer separate from the designer. So it was all done in code, and I had no idea. And I remember wanting to add a blog post, and I had to get on his schedule to figure out how to add it. And so like, I understood what that hands being tied feeling is like. And so I think that's another disconnection. So you really want to be as connected to your brand as you can. And so if that means knowing how to do some basic stuff inside your website, and then also at the end of the day, I feel like with copy and like doing the brand clarity, all I am is giving people permission to be who they are. And sometimes we need that. Like, I don't know why it's so innate in us to not want to give ourselves the easy road of just being who we are. Instead, we need to like look out to outside authorities and like model how other people have done it. Or if it hasn't been done yet, we don't feel like we can do it. Right. Or even the stuff that we're most attracted to, we're like, oh, but I should be doing the thing that's going to make us money. And I think that's end up where the brand clarity comes in with my clients. It's like, all I'm doing is pointing out, like, I can tell your fire's right here. Why aren't you offering a service with that? And I remember doing that with you, because I think you were more in like the business section. And at that time, there was other things that you were interested in. And it's like, well, why are we not integrating that part? And I think that's again about the magnetism. Like, how close can you get to your magnetism, to the stuff that really lights you up? Because that's where you're going to have the most pull with, you know, the most momentum for you to keep going and keep showing up. And then also to be the most attractive to your people.
Yeah, definitely. So Kelly, if you had someone that came to you, this is a new life coach, and they're like, I need a website, I need a brand, I don't even know where to begin. how would you guide someone with that?
Well, I'd first find out how much of it they want to do by themselves, how overwhelmed they are. Like, I get that. Like, I can give you all the tips in the world, but you're like, I'm still so in my head. So I would say the first place to be would I'm starting to do one-on-one again. I was taking a break from that and doing just doing the template design, but I would say let's sit down and do a brand clarity session. Like, let's do it. We'll talk about everything that you love. And then basically what that involves is pulling out all the things that you love and stringing them together in a cohesive way that makes sense to you. So you're not like, I'm so random. My life coaching business and my essential oil business and my yoga business.
Right.
How do they all come together? Like, do I need 3 separate websites? You don't. The thing is we're branding you. You are your brand. So we get to figure out, like, there's a reason you're attracted to all these different elements, and there's always a common thread. So, starting there with the brand clarity, if you're really lost, if you're like, no, I know what I'm about, then I would start, and you're just like, I just want design. I think, again, it depends on how hands-on you want to be. But like with the website templates that I did, the one thing that when I did, because I think you went through the 7-day Site Spruce course or Heart and Homepage. So both of those were just like me explaining you how to do the tech part. And there was design in it, like how to pick your colors. But the one thing that the feedback that I got the most was, I don't feel like I have the overall design eye for setting everything up and aligning pictures in a way and like having font be big enough. Because a lot of times what would happen is people would finish and I would go through and I'd help them spruce it up. So that's what the templates became, is like everything's designed for you. All the tech is done for you. And then you get it and you can move in your information. And then there's a course that goes with it that basically is like, this is how you change the colors. This is how you change your template or how you move in your photos. Or so it's also teaching you while also taking care of like some of the design stuff that I think you have to fiddle with for a while. It depends on how much you want to fiddle. So
Yeah.
I would say for somebody that's completely lost and has no idea what they want their brand to be about, I would say start with a brand clarity. And somebody doing design, if you want one-to-one custom work, I do that. But I also think a great place to start would be the template. The templates that I offer, and they're all for coaches, because those are primarily the clients I work with. So they're all designed with coaches in mind, is start with those, and move in your information. And then if you feel like you're getting stuck or you are like, oh gosh, I don't want to do this anymore, I don't have time for it, I also can move in your information for you.
Yeah.
So
I remember, doing that brand clarity session with you. And that was so helpful because I was, I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur, as most coaches are. And I had all these pieces of my life story. And then I was like, I want to do life coaching and I want to do business coaching, but I also want to like bring in my yoga and my meditation background. And I just was all over the place and so stuck in my head. And so you're right, that the questions that you asked me in that session really helped to pull everything together, and like who it was that I truly served, and in what way could I serve them, and how do we really describe that on my website and my social media. And so, that was a great place for me to start. And I would agree, anyone who's watching this, who's a new coach and can relate, I think that you should start there as well, because you're right, you need that clarity really before you can move forward.
you do, and like sometimes you just need permission to be like, oh my god, I can do this. I need it too. Like I recently actually just worked with another brand strategist, and she's like, could I just hire you for an hour to like hear me? And I was like, 100%. And I was like, we do the same for me. Like sometimes we need to be out of our head and have it reflected back to us, and just in like a way that somebody's like, you're not an idiot, like this is not crazy, you make sense. I think the thing is, we need to hear we make sense.
Yeah, totally. So Kelly, another question that I get all the time from people when I'm on discovery calls with them is, what's the difference between WordPress and Squarespace, and which one should I choose? And I'm always like, hands down Squarespace, don't do WordPress. But how would you guide someone with that decision?
I mean, I think there's so much, it depends on if you're just starting out. To make your life easier, I would always do Squarespace. I mean, I think even if you're advanced, stay with Squarespace. But if we're just going to argue, like, you're like, I just need to get going, I just feel like with WordPress, you have a lot more hiccups. Like you have to make sure that the plugins are good. I mean, you have to know a lot more. So basically Squarespace is like, if you're going to move into a condo versus a house you want to build from scratch. So if you're getting a condo that's like all set up for you and you have somebody managing your outside area and you have somebody managing security, and a lot of people complain about SEO with Squarespace versus WordPress, and that's a complete myth. It's actually, I think the SEO with Squarespace is pretty great, and there's so many ways that you can update it. And honestly, with all the things that people, I think, feel like there's not enough customization with WordPress, but there's so many workarounds with that you can do with code. And honestly, with their new platform, I do think it takes a minute to get used to. If you're used to the old one, it's a lot more customizable. So I just feel it's simpler and you're kind of getting a lot taken care of for you. I just remember like plugins expiring on my WordPress website and it would break, and then the security was at risk. And so it was kind of like, I don't know, it didn't feel quite worth it to me. And honestly, WordPress has moved to more drag and drop. So that's cool for them, because before it was code in the back end. And so you didn't necessarily get to like witness the design happening in real time.
Yeah.
That's changed. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think honestly, if I weren't doing Squarespace, I would probably do Show It and then WordPress.
Okay. Cool. Another thing too, and we kind of addressed this earlier, but I want to go back into this because this was such a block for me, and I know this is a block for most people, is the, I'm not enough story. I'm not creative enough. I'm not tech savvy enough. I'm not a good enough writer, right? Like, how can you really help someone to move through those stories and to empower them that they are creative and they are a good writer and they can, like we like to say in the coaching world, like anything that you feel like you're not good at it, you can really, become skilled at it if you practice. And
totally. So I would say the funniest thing, like I said, let's start with writer. The thing that drew in clients was my writing. I'm not a writer. I was never trained with copywriting.
Going to dad.
Oh God, so funny. So basically, I mean, what ended up happening was I was like, the only difference, I don't know what it was, that I just started to write in my voice. And so I started to realize that was the one thing with people, and people are always like, well, I don't know what my voice is. And I'm like, well, why don't you how would you text your friend who's not in the industry? How would you describe your service to them? And usually when we're doing that, we're using simpler language. Like, okay, so basically the idea is that there's these pieces of you that you feel like are missing in your life. So you come back to this language where you're not using industry jargon. And I think a lot of times when people are writing professionally, or they feel like it needs to be professional, they're either following what they're seeing other life coaches do or other coaches doing, and they're all using the same language, like alignment and authentic. And thing is, a lot of your clients, those words don't land viscerally for them. Like they're kind of like, they understand them, but they're not like, I don't really understand what you mean. Or like, the impact of them is lost. So using specific examples, like how you would describe a service to your friend. I'm trying to think of how the facials I had described, but like some of them were like, I would like go through and like, because I used to have horrible acne, and I would go through and I would like describe what it was like, what I was going through with my acne. And people were like, oh my God, like this feels like me. Like I know exactly what this feels like. So sharing a story in your writing is so powerful, because most of the time our clients are the past versions of ourselves. And so going back and pulling from that relatability, like you have gold right there. Like you have a pot of gold that really your clients truly understand. So sharing a story and then using the way that you would talk, being incredibly conversational, and really nobody can do that for you because it's your way of conversing. So knowing that, I think also is like, oh, so I don't need to hire a copywriter, because it does sort of take away from the way you sound. And then also remembering that it doesn't need to be this polished version of you. In fact, that loses so much of the conversation of it. So really keeping it light. I hate the idea of like, I think people are worried about the grammar police. I have mistakes all the time in my stuff, and I've had people call me out for it. And I'm like, I mean, it is what it is. And I remember Marie Forleo saying, remember, nobody was born a copywriter, or nobody, and they don't teach this in school. They don't. There's no like subject for this as of right now. So everybody's sort of winging it. So I think at the end of the day, if you can kind of remember that, like there's a lot of like, I've heard these theories, like, you know, there's like red clients and green clients, and like there's way to talk to these clients. I think again, when you do that, you disconnect from your actual voice, and it makes writing hard, and it makes it feel robotic. And I think the more robotic you end up feeling, the less you're going to be inclined to do it. And then again, you're losing your magnetism. So your greatest gift is when you can be like, sometimes I'll just be like, I don't know, just write it. And I'll just write it all out. And then I'll come back to it the next day and like look to see if it makes sense, because my brain will be like looking at it from a fresh pair of eyes. Yeah. And a lot of times I just miss a few grammar things, or like, I'm like, it's way too wordy. And I take a few words out and then I go. Because the thing is, you are going to always need content. You're going to be showing up on Instagram. You're going to be writing blog posts. You're going to be writing captions to your YouTube videos. Like, always hiring that out is going to be, it's going to be a huge boulder, because you're going to be like, okay, I got to wait for my copywriter. And then it also puts a barrier between you and your audience, because you get to show you. Your voice matters. Like, the way that you say things is so important that your audience get to hear that in the way that you write. So I would argue that this is the only service that you should not hire out ever, if you really want true. So once you kind of like feel that in your bones, I think, again, it's about the permission. Like, you get to be you, and you get to write in the way that you want to write. And you get to also make mistakes. You get to like have grammar mess ups. It's okay. You're human. We're not robots. So I think if we can like start to look at that, I think that allows for more ease and flow. And really, that's the only thing that really gets in the way of constant captivating content that so many people seem to be craving. So really, it's about storytelling. It's about sharing your story.
Yeah, something too that was helpful for me is, when I was writing my website, and when I write my emails to my list and social media posts and all that, and I imagine that either my ideal client is right in front of me and I'm writing a personal letter to her, or it's like me, there's a version of me in front of me and I'm writing a letter to her. But I mean, I always do that. And when I can do that, that's when my best writing comes out. Because it's so like, just personal, it's personalized, and it's not robotic sounding. And it's, I mean, that's what, people want to feel, right? They want to feel like when they land on your website or any of your online content that you're speaking directly to them.
Yeah, right? Totally. So, exactly.
Yeah. That's a little trick.
I think, what was I going to say to that? I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, if we can just remember the things that we would have killed to have seen when we were in the place that your clients are, I think that's the stuff that the magic is made of.
Yes. I need to write that down, actually. That's really good. I'm teaching people how to do market research.
Where some of the best places I'll get things is Amazon reviews for like, I'll go into like website design and they have the Amazon reviews in there, or I'll just start looking in different Facebook groups too, like seeing to like actually get their words. Cause sometimes like I've forgotten where the struggle lives because I'm so further past that. It was almost easier for me to write to people when I was newer in this journey of, and so the further I get away from it, the more I'm like, okay, so what are the things? And like, it's so great to hear, like somebody wrote me something that was like, something about, I just needed to know that all of my crazy could live in one place. And I was like, I stole that line. I think it's on my website. Like, it's just like sometimes I need their words.
Right. I did that for the title of my book. So my book is Beyond the White Picket Fence, Breaking Out of the Life That Others Expect You to Live. And I was on a discovery call with a potential client, and she said something. I had the title Beyond the White Picket Fence, but I needed the tagline. And she said something along the lines of like, I am just so tired of everyone expecting us to live life a certain way, and I just want to like break out of that or something. And I was like, oh, this is
Oh,
so good.
yes,
like,
yes. If you're
yeah.
listening, it's always that your clients will give you the best stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's on the brain clarity calls. It's all that, yes, if you can just hear it and you're like, oh my God, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that, I've kind of forgotten the struggle because I'm beyond it.
Right.
So I guess that's the other thing is like when you kind of get past the point of your story, it's not to say that your story never ends. Cause like, that's where all my Instagram posts come from. Like I'll have like something that I'm going through and like, then I'll write a story about it. But like, as far as like, almost like website stuff or like something that's very direct toward marketing content, I think if you can find words that your clients have said and like the heat of their frustration in their words, cause they're always simple and they're always like, oh
Right.
yes. And it's like, oh, why didn't I think to describe it that way? And it's like, well, mine's not there.
Yeah. Awesome. And another thing too, I want to talk about with like the creativity aspect, and a book that really helped me to get through my, besides working with you, Kelly, a book that helped me to get through my creative blocks was The Artist's Way
I
by
knew you were
Kelly.
going to say that. Yeah.
It's, I mean, anyone who's watching this, if you have a block around creativity, you have got to read that book. I'll put the link in the comments below. But I think for the longest time, well, it's kind of funny because I am, when most people think of the word artist, they think of literally, I think like
A painter.
being on the streets in Paris and setting up an easel in front of the Eiffel Tower and being essentially like homeless or broke and watercoloring or painting. Like that's what people think of as an artist. And I actually am really good at, sketching and drawing and painting, all that. But really, like, everyone's creative. I think so many people think like, oh, she's creative or he's creative, but I'm not creative. But really,
Yep.
everyone is creative. They just express their creativity in different form, different colors or fonts or different ways or expressions. And I think when you can really own that, you can let go of that story that I'm not creative and then open it up to like, well, what does creativity look like for me? That's like, that changes everything.
It
Right?
does, 100%. I did not think I was an artist. I never would have called myself creative ever because I thought, again, it came through sculpting and painting and
Right.
drawing, and I'm not those
Fine
things.
arts. Yeah.
Fine arts, right. But I mean, my whole life I've been decorating my bedroom. I've been like decorating every house that we ever lived in. And so that's the thing is with people, creativity is innate. Another good book with that is Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic. She talks about that a lot.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that. And their podcasts are on that too.
Oh, really? I've never listened to her podcast, but
it's like getting coached by her. It's so awesome. You have to listen.
I need to add that. Yes. So I think, just this idea that creativity it's innate in us, and it also like needs to come out of us. If it doesn't, I just feel like it gets transitioned in ways that we don't want to. So the creativity is like that feeling. I think if we all allow it to do the thing that we get really excited about, like those are the moments where you don't want to eat or pee, like you're pissed because you're like, I'm in it. This is fun. Don't distract me.
Right.
And that's what happened when I was in the website design. Like I was like, whoa, this is weird. I was not expecting to feel this way, but like, this is a thing and I'm going to follow it. So, and I think when people can let go of that, and then they can let go of these like design color rules and that you need to be a designer. And I get that. I felt that way too. Then if you just let yourself play, it's like, there's no reason that you can't be doing this. I don't know why we keep telling the story that we need to have a certification to be a designer and that we don't have a right to create. I mean, some people genuinely don't want to, and that's fine. But if you are inclined, I wouldn't let any sort of lack of credentials stop you at all.
Yeah, and yeah, the reality of it is when you're a new life coach, most of the time you're going to be doing everything at first. A lot of times people don't have extra money to resource out, or you don't even know how to resource out. Resourcing,
Exactly.
it's a skill in itself.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, the reality is if you're watching this, you're either designing your website right now, or you're getting ready to design it, or you've already designed it. Like, you're in some phase and you're looking for more help and more guidance. And so that's why we're doing this today. But another thing is that I want to talk about, and then after this, Kelly, I'd love for you maybe to show us some of your, websites that you've designed, just so people can see like what your style is.
Sure.
But the last thing is the story of like, I'm not techie enough, or I'm not tech savvy. And I had that story as well, because I was a labor and delivery nurse for 5 years. And there's nowhere in that career that teaches you, I mean, besides logging onto a computer and charting on my clients' patient care, like, other than that, when I left that field and became a coach, and I was an in-person coach and then decided to transition online, which was scary for me. But now I'm like, I would so much rather prefer to do everything online versus in person. But I just was like, so convinced that like, I can't do this. I'm not techie enough. I don't really know how to use a computer in this way, and all these things. And I stuck to that story for so long, and that was a huge block for me. And what I realized is that one of my past mentors said is it's really dangerous to walk around all day telling yourself that you're not good at something and not doing anything about it. And when she told me that, that was so mind-blowing, because like, right, and you used to do this for me too, Kelly, when I would have like questions. I would ask you these questions all the time, like, Kelly, I don't know how to do this and this. And you're like, well, there's this thing called Google. And, and I was like so confused. And then you would tell me like, well, Krista, that's literally what I do when I don't know something. I just literally Google it. And I started to learn the power of, if you don't know an answer to something, or if you don't feel like you're good at a skill, go take a course, go Google it, go research it, because just sitting back and saying you're not good at something, it's not going to fix or change anything.
Oh gosh, it's so funny that you say that, because like I feel like you're one of the people that like you'll come to me and you'll be like, I just did this, and I'm like, oh my God, how did you just do this? Like I would say you're a tech wizard. But I guess like even more proof to that story, like my background, the reason why I didn't do interior design is because I failed CAD, which is computer aided design, twice. And so I just was like, okay, I suck at tech. So I just gave up on my interior design career, even though I loved all of it. And I was just like, okay, if there's computers involved, I can't do it. So the fact that I'm now designing solely on computers is, I mean, if anybody needs any proof, like the truth is, and I'm all self-taught. It was all through YouTube. I don't know what made me go to YouTube in the first place, but like, it was literally like, okay, so how do I do this? And even now when I run into something that I don't know, I literally just go, and there's so many, like on Pinterest, there's so many amazing articles, like, how do I do this? If you're running into the problem, somebody else has run into it before you.
Exactly. Yep.
So, yeah, I think it gives you oh my gosh, the glee that you feel when you're like, oh my God, I just did this. I just did the thing that I didn't think that I could do, and I would need to hire out, and I figured it out. I don't know.
It's amazing.
It does. It feels really good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you brought up YouTube. Like, that's literally why I have my YouTube channel. And it's now how I find most of my clients, is because it's the second largest search engine behind Google. And that's where your ideal clients are at. They're up at night and they're on YouTube, they're on Pinterest, they're on Google, and they're looking for their answers. So many people are on YouTube saying, how do I become a life coach? How do I start a life coaching business? That's how people find my channel all the time. So it's right. Like, the answers, they're always out there.
Yep, they are. Oh my gosh. That's literally how I've taught myself entirely. I mean, I've definitely taken oodles of courses, but it's been more for like life coaching. As far as all the tech is concerned, all of it was through the school of YouTube.
I love it. YouTube degree.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So I feel like we covered a lot of amazing topics today, and hopefully for everyone watching this, maybe you feel a little bit more confident, excited, motivated, inspired, empowered that you can do this. And not only can you do this, but now you have a great resource like, Kelly, to help you. if you want to have her on your team, I highly encourage you to, because once I brought her onto my team, oh my gosh, that's when my brand and my website became so beautiful, and I'm so proud of it now. But
Oh.
Kelly, I would love for you, if you want to do a share screen, show us, some of your work and just how, talented you are at design.
All right, so this is obviously my website. We'll go over to the templates. Let me pull this over here. The templates are basically, they are fully designed Squarespace websites. And I think sometimes templates with other people who are selling similar products, they're labeling them and they're just a course guiding you how to duplicate, but you're actually getting these websites. So let's look at, okay. So this is the homepage for Sophie. Is it Sophie or Sophia? I can never remember. Sophie. And then like all of them they have a home page, about page, and they're all set up in a similar manner. The services are set up with the idea that you have three main categories of services, whether that be one-to-one coaching, group coaching, maybe you have a mastermind or a membership. But the great thing with these templates is you have a sales page. Oops, that's the reach out. Every website also has a connect page with like a form. The sales page was the thing that everybody wanted that I kept getting the most requests for. So if you have like a signature offer, sales pages kind of all follow a similar flow. So the idea is that flow is all set up with you. And in these templates, you also have copy prompts. So you're not kind of left with this idea of like, so what do I write here? Like, what do I need to say? So like this one, it says like, hint, share a story, use real life examples, paint a picture of her life, what their life looks like after your course. And then there's like an example. So there's these copy prompts live throughout the entire site. And then like here, there's all these different sections. There's a testimonial section. And then like, what you get section. And then if you have an application process, there's the application. And then the part of like how it happens, step 1, 2, 3, and then let's get started, which takes them to an application page. And then you have an FAQ, which you basically, if you click on it, you can put in, the question and then the answer and then click back up.
I was always wondering how to do that, how to make it like
clickable.
Yeah, clickable.
I can do a video on that. That's custom code. And then again, with every site comes a course. And so if you're like, how do I edit this? And then I show you where the code lives in the back of the website if you want to take it off for some reason, or maybe you don't want it to be clickable. It's actually very easy to edit. That part should be fairly intuitive, but just in case it's not, it's, everything's in there. But, even like these testimonials, they're actually built on a separate page and brought in. And so I just show you how to like edit them. So you can, obviously these are not going to be your client testimonials. And then everything that comes with these sites are, they're Canva templates. So when you open them in Canva and you can edit them to make them your own, meaning you can switch out the colors and you can put in your own photos. So like this is, with this like brown background behind it, this is actually all done in Canva. This is imported as one image. Same with this one, like these two behind each other and then this little like rainbow, this is all done in Canva. And then these banners are also done in Canva. So everything is customizable. And then the video that comes, or the course that comes with every template, shows you how to switch out your colors. So again, this is one website. This is, I would say this is probably the more neutral of them. I just did one called Bay, and she's a little bit more colorful. I'll go to one more, just so you can see. And they are also, some of them are built on 7.0 and some are built on 7.1. So if you're not familiar with Squarespace, you're probably like, what is she talking about? It's basically, you get to choose which platform. And if you've never built a Squarespace website, I would probably go with 7.1. It's a little bit more complicated, but I think you actually get more design customization. like you can
So
see through.
basically what I'm just going to simplify this, Kelly, is like if someone purchases one of your Squarespace templates here, they can have a website that looks like this, like what we're seeing right now, but it would be in their own words and their
Yes,
own brand colors
yes,
and stock
yes.
photos.
You can either keep all the colors if you're like, I love this color scheme. You basically are getting this exact site. I just transfer ownership to you. And so if you're like, hey, I don't really want this yellow in here, how do I switch out the yellow? You have the opportunity to do that. You're not stuck with the colors, and you're not stuck with, and then all the words that are in here are just placeholder copy. So you move in your words, and then you can move in your photos. So yes, everything, it's basically like I've built you a prefab home and then you're like, I'm going to move in my furniture and maybe I'll change this wall color.
Right, right. This is amazing. So incredibly valuable
Yeah,
and
I feel like
affordable too.
yeah, so these are all 347. Every template is 347, and then if you want me to do all the customization for you, that starts at 1100. So basically, if you're like, I want to be completely hands off, I'm just going to give you all of my pictures, and can you change these colors? Um, then that's that. You know.
Yeah. And 347 is so affordable. I mean, something that I didn't realize when I was first starting out is, I mean, website design is expensive.
It's very expensive.
Like
Yeah.
really like I mean, I think, people who have the big multi-million dollar companies that are, hiring them out, like, I mean, I think they're investing like what, like 10 grand, 15,000, like just so much money to have those kind of websites. So just, you know, I just want to like give people realistic expectations. Like if you think you're gonna, be able to have a beautiful website for like, $50, like it's not gonna happen. Like you have to invest some money if you want to have a pretty website.
Yeah, totally. I know that was the thing is like I mean, I've paid I mean, it was just a simple WordPress website. I paid 8,000 for.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot, but I think it depends on, I think the great thing with these is like, cause your brand will change, it will change. You have the opportunity to know how to change it with these templates. Um, because you can change the colors and you can swap out the pictures and you'll know how to like call yourself something different because you can write the actual title in there. um, so yeah, the idea is for you to have like an affordable stepping stone. That's what these were created for. And then I do complete custom too, where people are like, I want my own look. We do that. And then these are some of the custom clients, because this is how I started out, was just doing here we can do, I don't know if her website's actually live yet. It's not. This one's a sales page for her. She sells detoxes. Um, but this is a really good idea of a sales page, like a really lengthy, in-depth sales page.
Wow, it's so beautiful.
Which if you're just doing a sales page, these are actually cheaper than doing like a full-on custom. But yeah, I mean, if you go to my website, there's all of the most recent clients. I actually don't think yours is up there because we did yours quite a while ago. So
Yeah, and then I've kind of updated mine a lot as well on my own. So it's like now a mix of like what you first started out with and then how I've really come in
right, right. Yeah. So I mean, that was probably more of it. I don't want to take credit for your work.
and
But yeah, there's more up there. I mean, like I said, the majority, I mean, there's a few non-coaches in here, like there's a dentist and a Montessori, but the majority of the people uh, of the websites are coaches.
yeah.
So it'll give you an idea, or maybe you just use it as inspo and you design your own. Just know it's possible.
Hmm.
They're all here for you.
Well, and that's why I always send new coaches your way. Anytime I come across a life coach and she's like, I need website help, I'm like, okay, you're going to Kelly. You're talking because I trust you and I know that that's who you specialize work, so you know the unique challenges and the needs of a life coach. And so, yeah.
Yeah, Yes. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
working with them. So yeah, that's what this is this. I just want everybody to feel like this doesn't need to be hard or fancy. Like, don't let this stop you from sharing your work with the world, because it really does get to be about you.
Mhm.
In fact, it should be. And so instead of thinking of your website as for your clients, think about it for you as a place for you to get clear and to feel really proud of. And it's like a safe space for you.
Yeah, love it.
Love
All
it.
right, everyone. Well, I will include Kelly's links in the description below, so that way you can, reach out and either purchase Kelly's templates, or if you want to, contact her, you have questions. But other than that, thank you so much, Kelly, for doing this for us today. And this was so much fun.
So fun. Thank you for having me, Krista.
Yeah, of course. All right. Have a good day,
All
everyone.
right.
Bye.